A lieutenant of the 13 court guard squads is meant to be an example for all seated and unseated officers ranked below them. As acting second in command of an entire division of warriors, this role is of the utmost importance. Because of this, the vice captain is usually handpicked by the captain of the division due to their reputation, talent, or pure, unadulterated strength. And that's exactly why we're still trying to figure out how the hell Renji got picked to be one. Renji Abarai, second in command of the 6th Division under Kuchiki Byakuya, one of the only 3 lieutenants to have achieved their bankai, the strongest release of a shinigami Zanpakuto, and a staple member of Kurosaki Ichigo's group throughout all of the major arcs, a shinigami who has gained invaluable experience by surviving multiple different battles and learning how to overcome all types of obstacles. With that kind of description, you'd think a win-loss ratio higher than 3 to 5 would be showing up, despite having more than enough reasons to be both an interesting and strong character. Renji somehow manages to fall short of every mark. And in this video, I'm going to explain why this red-haired, overcompensating with tattoos, using all those accessories to hide the shame he feels inside, smug-ass loser should have his lieutenant status revoked immediately and universally knocked off of everyone's favorite character list. If you don't believe me, by the end of this video, if I haven't convinced you, feel free to drop a hate comment. But if you haven't finished the video, I win. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and know that I appreciate your viewership regardless. From day one, Renji showed no signs of leadership, quick thinking, or frankly, even skill for that matter. Much like everyone else, Renji started out as a student at the Spiritual Arts Academy before becoming a full-fledged shinigami, where unfortunately, he somehow slipped through the cracks of the education system when someone should have stopped that shit right then and there, to be honest. It's sad when anime reflects real life like that. Taite Kubo, you woke-ass motherfucker. Anyway, on Renji's first mission ever to the human world, he's paired with fellow roster fillers Izuru Kira and Momo Hinamori. Actually, Kira, you're cool. You can stay above this. Paired with Izuru Kira and roster filler Momo Hinamori in a team led by Hisagi Shuhei. To teach younger students how to purify souls, a gigantic hollow attack ambushes the group and incapacitates all the proctors, except for Hisagi. And don't even get me started on this bull, he could make his own damn video. Ignoring this waste of space for just a moment, the trio of students are told to hightail it out of there and leave this up to Hisagi, which they promptly do, as the school field trip is not the place to call your second life quits. Also, mom can't find out you forged her signature. But Momo, of all people, thinks it's kinda crazy they're leaving their fellow shinigami behind, which, respectable. But surprise, surprise, Renji is the first person to jump down her throat with the "nah, no way, the Hollows killed the upperclassmen, we need to get the fuck out of here" type shit. Momo is eventually able to convince them to turn around, and the group does end up saving the day before real help comes. But remember, if it was up to Renji, they would have just left their homie behind. Hisagi would have died. Maybe that wouldn't have been that bad, but still, I would never forget that. Every time I saw Renji, hey, remember when you wanted to let me die? What a lame ass thing to do. And you're supposed to be a soul reaper, Renji? Straight up, right after this, Momo asks Renji if they'll ever be as strong as lieutenants or captains. And you want to know what this loser says? He says, no way, they are monsters. What? Whack. No confidence, no loyalty. L, plus your hairline is crazy. Plus, how the fuck did your dumbass graduate? Plus, who in their right mind would have picked you as a lieutenant after this piss poor display?
What exactly is going on here?
Hello, Captain Kuchiki.
Next up on the list of fuckery, do you all remember when Renji, Lieutenant Class Shinigami, Warrior of the Gote 13, one of the most prestigious positions in all of Soul Society, lost to a fucking substitute Shinigami twice? I mean, the second time, Ichigo has at least learned his Zanpakuto's name, started coming into his own, but the first time, we need to talk about. On the night that Rukia is going back to Soul Society to be arrested for her crimes of giving Shinigami powers to a human, Ichigo steps in to try and save her. From the get-go, For some reason though, Renji felt the need to assert his dominance and hold frame against Ichigo. Rukia was around and Renji perceived the other male as a threat, clearly. It's on some weak man mentality. Renji immediately starts talking shit on Ichigo, and the size of his sword, which frankly is a projection of his insecurity, but I digress. When the two of them start scrapping, Renji is clearly the superior fighter. I mean, I would fucking hope so. He went to school for this shit, trained for decades, and was hand selected to be second in command of an entire division, so Renji should be running circles around Ichigo. I mean, the cockiness could be toned down a bit, but hey, when you're Renji, you gotta take your W's where you can get them. But while Renji's busy acting all high and mighty, Ichigo nicks Renji's chin because he's too busy trying to look cool in front of Rukia, to which even Byakuya calls Renji's ass out for being careless. Renji decides to try and end it quick by releasing his Zanpakuto Shikai, his sword's true form. Renji's sword, Zabimaru, catches Ichigo off guard, and Renji reverts right back to talking shit. But just as Renji thinks he's won, a little thing called karma and the age-old rule of learn when to shut the fuck up comes into play, as Ichigo gets a bloodlusted awakening and turns up on Renji. And the way that Ichigo puts the work on Renji here is the exact kind of advantage the fucking lieutenant class Shinigami probably should have had over the substitute Shinigami for a couple of weeks, basically human opponent. But you know, the more knowledgeable Bleach fans are screaming at their screen right now and typing about a certain spiritual restriction, but oh, do not worry. We will talk about that when we get to it. But until then, I'm gonna clown on Renji for losing to a newbie here. Byakuya, his captain, needs to step in and save him. But more importantly, Byakuya needs to save his fucking reputation, because his lieutenant just embarrassed him, himself, and the entire 6th division. Not just once, but twice now tonight. The fact that Renji's status wasn't immediately revoked after this is beyond me, but I guess everyone deserves one mulligan. However, I think at this point, Renji's used up about 7. Now, after Renji gets beat up by Ichigo, Soul Reaper of about 2 months Kurosaki for the second time, and chooses to go against Soul Society to stop Rukia's execution, Renji, just copying whatever Ichigo does at this point, begins training to master Bankai, a Zanpakuto's final release state. And what unfolds here just might be one of the most embarrassing things I think could ever happen to a Bleach character. And the gravity of this affects the series for hundreds of chapters. My man Renji goes through all of the special training to become worthy of learning his Zanpakuto's Bankai. And Zabimaru goes, yeah, fuck you, and gives Renji a fake release command. I am not fucking kidding you. Zabimaru gives this man a fake Bankai, Hihio Zabimaru. That big long giant snake looking thing that ain't good for shit? Yeah, it is nothing but a facade, a sham. Zabimaru was so tired of just being in Renji's presence, he gave him a false release date just to shut him the fuck up.
Shut up!
Renji got the equivalent of a fake number at the club, but when he called the number, some old ass lady picked up, and Renji's too stupid to notice, but she's also too lonely to care, so they start a relationship over the phone and never actually meet in person for, let's say 500 or so chapters? And this shit isn't even a good Bankai. Renji just settles. Realistically, it's just a bigger and harder to lug around version of his Shikai. It's got a snake jaw now and can fire reishi beams. Big fucking deal. You know how great of a Bankai it was? It got turned into fucking dust by Byakuya's Bankai, Senbon Zakura Kageyoshi, the first time Renji ever even used it. He trained for all that time, built all of this resolve in order to try and rescue Rukia, talked a big game to his own fucking captain, started a mutiny, then failed miserably, and Byakuya still has somehow not sent this man to the Shadow Realm yet. Byakuya was nice enough to sit Renji the fuck down for a moment so he could reevaluate his options. Does Renji like stepping out of line and getting his ass beat? Or does he prefer staying in the background like a good little dog and only barking when spoken to? Good puppy. It hurts us way more than it hurts him. Another moment that holds a lot of embarrassment for Renji is the night the Arrancar Grimmjow and his Fraction invaded Karakura Town. Looking to stir up some trouble, Grimmjow Jagerjack and his underlings all jump the human world and the Shinigami station there. Everyone gets their own fight. Rukia pieces up someone on her queen shit, and Kurosaki gets his ass beat bad by Grimmjow. Everything is as it should be, but if you would have told me that Lieutenant of the 6th Division, Renji Abarai, was pressed into his bankai state and heavily wounded by a low-level fodder Arrancar like Il-4 Grans. Who? Well, honestly, I would have believed you. Il-4 is so low power in the grand scheme of things, it's embarrassing that someone like this would even require Renji to use any more than his Shikai. I mean, that's all Rukia needed. The Arrancar even asks Renji how a loser like him made it to vice captain, and that's just terrible. Having people question your credentials in public and shit. Renji is experiencing pedestrian work level troubles at non-customer service based jobs. You have to radiate unqualified energy for shit like that to happen to you. Now, so much incompetence at that point was sensed. Fucking Irururu, the middle school girl that works at Kisuke Urahara's candy shop, decides to step in and kicks Il-4 with more strength than Renji could even muster in his fucking pinky toe. She is the one who forces the Arrancar to go into his resurrection stage, Il-4's true form and power. And after watching Irururu, a child, get impaled and almost letting it happen a second time to Jinta, Renji finally decides to step up and do his job. Inflated Stakes no Jutsu shows up because apparently all Shinigami are limited to only 20% of their spiritual power when first dispatched to the living world, which quite frankly makes no fucking sense, but I guess that's one way to make fodder villains pose some sort of threat. When releasing the restriction that's called Gente Kaijo, all Shinigami in the living world are given access to their full strength. This not only acts as a subpar plot device, but completely absolves Renji of all accountability for fumbling this fight, as he quickly vaporizes Il-4 right after this. But no. Fuck that. All of you out there want to give Renji the benefit of the doubt here. This 10-chapter jobber villain really pushed Renji to bankai? 20% of his power wasn't enough to take this guy? While Rukia turned the other Arrancar D-Roy into a memory with the first dance of her Shikai release. But no operator, even Hitsugaya was forced into bankai against his Arrancar. Even worse, I may add, don't get me started on this entire sequence as a whole, to be honest, because me and Bushamo already talked enough about Hitsugaya as a fraud as well. I can only do one per video, guys, and unfortunately, Bleach just has so many of them. After this sorry display, Renji proceeds to do nothing of value in the Bleach storyline for, quite honestly, hundreds of chapters. Renji has a tag team fight with Uryu against Espada number 8, Cizayela Porograns. Fucking loses. No chance of winning. Was about to die if Mayuri Kurotsuchi didn't come in and save him. He gets knocked the fuck out by Yami Largo and is never heard or seen from again until the entire war for Karakura Town is over. Renji does show up in the Fullbring arc and surprisingly gets a win, but it's against Jackie Tristan, a human who Ichigo was able to best in combat without any Shinigami powers and a swastika projectile. All the way up to our most recent arc of the 1,000-Year Blood War, where Renji is keeping his fraud status strong. He starts the arc off with the big brain idea to, after watching firsthand his captain Byakuya get his bankai stolen, attempting to immediately cast his own bankai in a panic. Luckily, Master Masculine was nice enough to dropkick him the fuck out of the equation. Finally, someone just as fumble happy as Renji, because he could have stolen his bankai here if Mask just waited a couple more seconds. Two peas in a pod. It only makes sense they'd meet up later in this arc and have one big dumb fuck off. And this is the moment we're all here for. Renji's big moment. After 564 chapters of playing catch up with Ichigo, Renji Abarai is finally going to have a cool character moment after getting demolished by Master Masculine in the first invasion without even having a proper fight, or surprisingly using his bankai and immediately losing right after, which frankly, is a first. Renji is transferred by Wambulance to the Soul Palace, kingdom of the Soul King and home of the Royal Guard, the most elite shinigami of all time. The group of 4, also containing Ichigo, Rukia, and Byakuya, are trained to the fullest extent of their existence, bringing their spiritual power to a level unheard of. Personally, between me and you, I think Renji was just brought out of convenience. Everyone would have felt bad if they left him behind. You know, like when someone sits with a new kid at lunch because he has no friends? When Renji's power-up is complete, both him and Rukia descend down to Soul Society in hopes of defending their home against the second Quincy invasion. Renji's old partner in fraud, Mask Demasculine, has also been busy building up his own strength. After dismantling the trio of Akaku, Yumichika, and Hisagi, who somehow managed to embarrass himself twice in a video that has nothing to do with him, Mask also brings down the captain tag team of Rose Otorobashi and Kensei Mugaruma. Now, the Vizards were all exceptionally nerfed in this arc, so their fraudulent behavior can definitely be forgiven in my eyes, but as Renji arrives on the scene and the two characters begin to square up, let me tell you why, even though Renji technically wins this fight, this is his worst case of fraud yet. To understand this fraud, we must first begin to comprehend why Mask Demasculine was able to mollywop all of these strong characters, and Hisagi. Mask Demasculine's Quincy power, his Shrift, is called the Superstar, and this allows Mask to not only power up significantly every time he's cheered on by nearby fans, the Quincy can even be revived after death as long as his friend James is around to offer support. Even though the trio of Shinigami and the two captains were at one point stronger than Mask, after being repeatedly revived and then buffed in strength, Mask was able to run circles around the Shinigami. Also, during his fight with Renji, Mask transforms and surges with so much energy, he becomes overwhelmed by it, giving up his hero facade and revealing his true personality. A spiteful, selfish prick, a true fraud. As Renji and Mask continue to duke it out, Renji is clearly outshining Mask at every turn. You know, Kubo really tricks you here into thinking it's about to be a cool moment for Renji, and honestly, on your first reader watch through, I wouldn't blame you for thinking you liked Renji here for a minute. Let me shatter that illusion for you. Knowing how the Superstar works, even if Renji does beat Mask here, if we rewind just a little bit in the video, the Superstar is supposed to constantly revive Mask when James cheers, so what the hell happened to James? Supernova! Oh, which brings us to... So, I don't know if you caught what I'm throwing, but if you didn't, let me spell it out for you. By Mask taking James out in that giant AoE star attack, Mask essentially ruined any chance he had of being revived. Just like a fraud, Mask made the dumb move to take out his only way of staying alive because he got cocky. Mask thought if he used all of his power in one big attack against an unknown opponent, whilst doing nothing but talking so much shit you can't see through all the brown in your eyes, he could win. And where have we seen this before? I'm convinced now, brothers in fraud alone, Kubo could not have given Renji a better send-off fight. When an unstoppable clown meets an immovable fraud, they fight until one of them destroy themselves, trying to outdo the other in the dumb fuck contest. And, well, Mask pulled the trigger first this time. Once you think of the Renji Mask fight this way, you realize that if James was alive and Mask revived after Renji's last attack, he would have grown past Renji and became a huge problem for the rest of the series, kind of like Gerard. But honestly, it's better we ended up with fraud Renji. He's cringe to watch, but at least he makes you feel better about yourself. And if you're still wondering if there's anything else that can be said in Renji's defense, honestly, There is not. He does fuck all the rest of the 1,000-Year Blood War, and even in most present-day Bleach, in the special Jaws of Hell one-shot we most recently got, his daughter gets into big trouble and is about to be killed, but fucking Ichigo has to save her. Jesus Christ, man, what the hell else does Ichigo have to do for you? Fuck your wife? Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope I convinced you that Renji Abarai truly is one of the biggest frauds in all of modern anime, and if I didn't, you made it to the end and deserve to leave me that hate comment explaining exactly why I'm wrong. Still though, if you enjoyed the video regardless, leave a like for me and subscribe if you want more content like this. Go ahead and check out an end screen video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.